My last few trips to the grocery store, I haven't left without spending at least $100. How did we get here and how do we continue to afford this lifestyle? Welcome back to Tea with Aditi and thank you for subscribing. First, we have to understand inflation and how we got here. A few years ago, COVID happened. Lockdown around the world, businesses shut down, people lost their jobs. Our government pumped money into the economy to help its citizens and also stimulate the economy. Everyone all of a sudden has more money to spend and goes out and starts buying things. This increases in overall demand for goods and services. But at the same time, production and supply chains are disrupted because of lockdowns and restrictions. Also, central banks lowered their interest rate to encourage more borrowing and more spending. All of this helped our economy and now more money was in circulation. But when there's more money and the same amount of goods, the value of money decreases and that causes inflation. So basically, we have high demand, low supply, and more money circulating, which causes prices to increase. This now means that our money won't go as far as it used to. So what used to cost us $100 might now cost us $120, $130, $140, depending on where you live. So how do we survive inflation and afford this new lifestyle? Number one, an emergency fund. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous to start by saying that you need to save, but having an emergency fund is extremely important. You want to have anywhere from 3 to 12 months of expenses saved up in case there's an emergency. A great strategy to save is where you pay yourself first. This is a finance strategy that prioritizes savings and limits your spending. The book called The Latte Factor by David Bach explains it really well. The book talks about 3 secrets, and secret number 1 is paying yourself first. Contrary to what many people think, this does not mean going out there and treating yourself to something nice because you've earned it. In the book, they start by asking, how many hours do you work for yourself? If we look at this chart of a regular workday where your day starts at 9 a.m., from 9 to 11:30 a.m., you work to pay your taxes. From 11:30 to 2 p.m., you work to pay your rent or utilities or pay your mortgage. From 2 to 5, you're working from all your other expenses like groceries, healthcare costs, dining, entertainment, whatever it might be. You're never really working for yourself. So the idea here is to pay yourself the first hour of every day's income and save that and invest it towards your future goals. So start by saving 10% of each paycheck and then take the rest of the money to pay the rest of the bills. Many people think that with their current income, saving 10% is not possible, and they'll do it later when they earn more money and land that dream job. However, the reality is, as we make more money, we have more expenses. So you'll never really be making enough money to save if you don't start saving 10% right away. Another secret in the book was don't budget, make it automatic. I won't go into detail about this one, but the idea is that budgeting often gets complicated and we don't get around to doing it. But when savings are done automatically, you don't have the option to overspend and wait until the end to see what you have left to save. You do it first, it gets done automatically, and it's done with. Number 2, plan your purchases. Now that you already know what you're saving every month, and you already know what your rent and utilities or your mortgage costs, and I'm assuming that your taxes are deducted from your income before you get paid. So everything that's left over is for all your other expenses. This is where budgeting comes in after the savings have automatically been taken care of. Have a monthly budget for all those other expenses, dining, groceries, going out, entertainment, shopping, whatever it is. Have a budget and stick to it. What I've started doing is making a list, even for groceries. We all know the rising cost of groceries. What used to cost me $80 is now $120. And the worst part is, it doesn't even bother me anymore because it's become the new normal. What I do is enter the store with a list as much as possible. This way, I'll buy the things I need and there'll be less wastage in the future. A great app to use for any budgeting requirements is Mint. You can try that out. You can also use Excel sheet if you want to keep it simple. But remember that you want to pay yourself first automatically and then use the rest of the money to budget for these expenses. Another great strategy is to delay your spending as much as possible to avoid the impulse buying. Many times you get that email that there's a sale and you start scrolling, or you go on Instagram and you see something, or you get an ad that's targeted right at you and you start scrolling and you impulse buy something. My recommendation would be not to buy it right away. Chances are that in a couple of days you'll probably forget about it or realize that you don't even want it anymore. I call this a cool off period. So wait a couple of days. If you're still thinking about it, you can revisit it. Otherwise, just let it go. Most of the time I've noticed that I don't even make a purchase. I've just wasted my time scrolling anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and that's time I'm never gonna get back. Lastly, revisit any automatic credit card payments and any subscriptions that you might have. Cancel the subscriptions you don't need. We live in a world full of subscriptions, from what we watch to what we eat to sometimes what toys our kids are playing with. While some subscriptions are great and worth keeping, others we might just be paying for and not even using. I have many friends that have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Crave, all of them. Do we really need them all? The monthly cost may seem cheap, but when you add it up, it ends up being a pretty substantial amount of money that can probably be used better elsewhere. Number 3, tackle debt. In the beginning of COVID, when interest rates were really low, many of us saw it as a great opportunity to make some big purchases like buying a car or buying a house. On top of that, you might already have credit card debt or student debt or any other personal loans. With interest rates rising, it's becoming more and more difficult to manage these, and you need a strategy. 2 popular strategies for paying off debt is called the avalanche or the snowball method. With the avalanche method, you prioritize paying off debts with the highest interest rates first. By tackling the high interest debts first, you minimize the amount of interest you'll be paying in the long run. This method is financially more effective and it'll help you get out of debt faster. With the snowball method, the approach is of small wins and psychological motivation. Instead of focusing on high interest rates, you tackle the smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate. By paying off the smallest debt first, you experience a sense of accomplishment, which motivates you to tackle the next smallest debt, and so on and so forth. It's like rolling a snowball downhill. It starts small, but it picks up momentum, and then you start tackling the bigger and bigger and bigger debts until you're debt free. Both methods have their advantages. With the avalanche method, you save money in the long run by minimizing interest payments, while the snowball method provides a psychological boost and keeps you motivated by celebrating the small victories. The key is to choose the method that aligns with your financial goals and preferences. Now, where's the money going to come from to tackle the debt? One simple way is to review your monthly expenses. Next month, try tracking your expenses to get an idea of where your money is really going. Some small expenses end up totaling to large amounts by the end of the year. So if you're spending $3 a day on coffee and $10 to $12 a day on your lunch, you're probably spending almost $400 a month that you could avoid. Obviously, you have to eat, so consider planning in advance and taking things from home. Also, I know we discussed paying yourself first. However, if you have a lot of accumulated debt with high interest rates, you can consider using that 10% to help pay off that debt until it becomes a little bit more manageable. I would recommend doing this after already establishing an emergency fund. Lastly, if you currently own your home, you can consider refinancing your mortgage. Refinancing your mortgage to help pay off other debts can be a smart move. Basically, this means that you use the equity in your house to take out a new loan that has better terms and lower interest rates, and you use those funds to pay off the debts with the higher interest rates like your credit card, student loan, any other personal loans. By consolidating your debt into your mortgage, you can usually get a lower interest rate, reduce your monthly payments, and have a clearer and simpler financial path. However, you want to consult with a financial planner before implementing the strategy. Refinancing your mortgage might mean increasing the duration of your loan. So while your monthly payments might decrease, you might be paying more interest over the life of the loan. It's crucial to compare the long-term cost and benefit before you implement the strategy. I hope those tips helped. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.